Welcome to Raw Take, everyone, the lifeline to your unfiltered media experience. Before we start the show, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, like, comment, and share. I'm your host, Gion Thomas, and this is the Monday live stream. And we have returning guests, Chase West, Larry Baggett, and Liz Townsend. And today we'll be talking about what are Democrats fighting for, what the midterms elections will look like, and more. But first, I'm gonna let my guests say a little bit about themselves. Liz, can you start us off?
Hi, y'all. Like John said, my name is Liz Townsend. I am actually an activist and a volunteer with Powered by People, and I am here ready to have a nice debate. It's going to be great. And I've been here once before. This is my second time on the show, so thanks for having me again.
Awesome. Go ahead, Chase.
Well, I am Chase West. I am running for state representative in HD 132. I'm running because I've seen a history of career politicians that are only interested in corporate interests and the interests of their friends, and voters in Texas are tired of it. I'm a small business owner, a father, an artist. Heck, I'm at my small business right now. I work hard, and the people of our community work hard, and they deserve someone who works for them and not for the corporations.
Exactly. So go ahead, Larry, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Larry Baggett, and I'm currently running for Texas State House in District 3. Some of you may remember me. I've been on the show as well. I was campaigning the last 6 months for Texas governor. But sometimes we set a course in life. Sometimes we have to be willing to make a course adjustment to where we're headed. And as I campaigned forward and I felt more in contact with the people, my goal is to make an impact, positive change. And I feel as a representative of the 3rd district, giving all people in Texas a voice, I have more ability to affect and protect the generations and future generations of Texans to come. So I'm ready to take on the fight. It's time to send the career Republican back home, and we'll handle it from there.
Exactly. And as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, Chase said something that is very important and something that is very heavily affecting our politics today. And that is the corporate interests and how corporate donors have basically bought off our politicians. And, we see examples of this all littered throughout the Republican Party. They kind of don't hide it. They're very forthcoming with who they're trying to represent and what they're trying to get done. But it's sad and very unfortunate that we also have this same corruption within the Democratic Party, and and it has been seen extremely with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema on just how they were like not even trying to work with Biden on his infrastructure bill, on his on the human infrastructure bill, and how they just kept on, wanting cuts. And so that's going to be one of the first things that we talk about. So Liz, what are your thoughts on Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema?
Well, we got to kind of know their backgrounds first to really consider why they've made the decisions that they have made.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Joe Manchin, he's a lifelong West Virginian. Mm-hmm. He has been in government for quite a long time. And at one point, he was even governor of West Virginia. And now, of course, he's been a senator since 2010. But we also have to keep in mind that he's also a businessman with some oil ventures and some property ventures as well. And unfortunately, maybe whether consciously or not, I know people are going to vote in their own interest, right?
Yeah.
And he calls himself a Democrat. Well, what's a conservative Democrat? That's kind of a oxymoron.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I hear conservative Democrat, I hear, oh, okay, this is somebody who is from the South, deep South, indoctrinated in the Southern strategy, and still holding on to the Dem Party, is the old Dem Party. I mean, before 1968 Democratic Party. That's how I kind of see it. I don't know if that's fair, but it's kind of like, okay, the old Dems are gone. Platform changes have happened. But then is he just trolling us? Is he just trolling us? Like, is he just there to be a troll? That's what I think.
I totally agree with that 100%. It is kind of like he is trolling the Democratic Party because he has flip-flopped so much. There was a statement from him a couple of months ago on how he was talking about how the infrastructure bill had to at least be like $5 trillion. And then when he was pressed against, his own words, he was like, oh, well, he recanted. And so it is all because of that money that he's funneled. Like you said, Liz, he's a business owner. He's looking out for his own interests. He's looking out for his own pocket. He's trying to, what is it? What they say, silver line your bottom pocket, or I don't know. I'm messing up that saying, but that's basically what he's doing.
But yeah, and I mean, we also have to look at the statistics of West Virginia. What has he done for West Virginia? Well, in the last 20 years, somehow they've gone from already one of the bottom states as far as infrastructure to absolute 50th. I think it's 47th in education, which actually just beats out Texas that much. So,
and 48th in economy. So, I mean, you're not even voting for the best interest of your state, of your constituents, the people who you're supposed to be there representing.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the blue collar guy. He's supposed to represent that, but yet he lives in a yacht and he drives a Maserati, and nobody can talk to him, and nobody can. Yeah, he won't talk to constituents the way you're supposed to talk. He's not accessible by any means. And then you have to wonder, why would they be inaccessible? Why would a politician make themselves so inaccessible if they really cared about the constituents and their state? I mean, it's been declining ever since he's been governor, and it's just going to decline even further. The unemployment rate is skyrocketing. It's one of the highest in the nation currently. Probably next to Kentucky, and we all know who's in charge of Kentucky now. So, I just, that's my whole view on that. I just wonder why. Just why? I just want to ask him why. Why, dude? Why are you doing this?
Hey, Liz, can I throw something in here real quick? Remember, I heard her saying one time years ago, pigs don't know pigs stink. If you put you and I in a slop full of pigs, we can smell it, right? But if we stay there long enough, it becomes very weak. Hey, it don't smell bad. That's right. And that's what happens with career politicians. That's why myself and Chase has had many a conversations about ending sitting term limits, passing bills. I don't care how good you are. I did hear Representative Stickland, former Representative Stickland, make the comment. He stepped down after 8 years. He said, if I didn't, I was going to become just like the very people I was around. And you got to be cognitively aware of that. And as for the senator there, I agree with you. If you become unavailable, don't let it rain while you're standing outside. You're going to drown because that nose stuck so far in the air, you become detached. Look what's in Texas right now. Abbott's detached. Most of the far left or far right, they detached. Don't go up to Austin, try to talk to most your Democrat nor Republicans, right? They will get out. I talk to my staffer, not me. Well, that's not availability. I'm like with Chase and many other people. It's time for the electing people that stay available, engaged with the people in the district, not the media, not the special interest group. It's about serving all Texans, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Or just all constituents.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I will say this, I follow local politics a lot more than I follow national politics, because I really think that's where the heart of what affects us, where that is. However, knowing that, Kyrsten Sinema is from Arizona, which is relatively conservative, and then West Virginia is also relatively conservative. I mean, I know, trust me, I know I've heard about the different special interests and stuff, the extra money they're getting. So I'm not defending them or anything like that, but they do have a constituency to represent as well. Um, I don't agree with them, and their constituents may not agree with them, but I don't have that information, to to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do believe that any elected official, their duty is first to the constituents of the region that they represent. So, in my instance, if elected, my first priority would be the constituents in 132. My second priority would be everyone in Texas, because as a Texas state representative, you're making laws and you're passing bills and you're doing all this that affects everyone in Texas. So we kind of got to look at it, in both ways, macro and micro.
Yeah. My whole thing is the pushback that Kyrsten Sinema has gotten just from her constituents. I mean, she can't even go anywhere without having people run up on her in the bathroom, at weddings. Now, I don't condone nobody running up on anybody in a bathroom. I mean, you got to have your privacy. But politicians you're gonna get that pushback, especially when you're not listening to your constituents. And they've basically been making her life a living hell. And I think it's the one thing that, like, she was getting $5,000, like basically taking like $5,000 appointments from Republican donors and just basically listening to them. And it's just, I mean, to me, it's just so disgusting. And I always say this on the show. We are at such a pivotal moment here in the United States that, we have to get some things done. We have to get some things done. Or, people want to talk about all these third world countries. We are slowly becoming a third world country. If you go walk into Houston, Texas, there are homeless people all over the place. I mean, there are homeless people all over California. This is a problem that you see in a lot of metropolitan cities. And it's something that we have to get a hold on. And, a lot of people will say, well, Democrats control cities. And to me, that is like the dumbest statement you could ever say, because your government is made of both Republicans, Democrats, and then, not to even mention, a lot of these positions, you don't even have to declare a party. So that is just dumb. That is just dumb when people say, oh, well, your cities have homeless people because, you have Democrats. No, that's BS, and that's just a Republican talking point. We have homeless people because we have infrastructure that we do not use, and that we have tons of buildings around Houston, and I'm pretty sure around the whole entire United States, that are not being used. Why not use those buildings and have make them community buildings so we can get people off the streets? I mean, it's just, there are some things that we have to do. And just looking at the statistics of West Virginia, I mean, that is horrible. And like Liz said, that is very comparable to what Texas is. We have got to fight harder. And it's not even about left or right. It's about policy. It's about what you're doing. It's about how this policy is going to affect your family, affect your life. That's what we have to focus on.
I actually have two things to say about the homeless thing, because I know that wasn't even on the agenda, but it brings up some points that I would definitely love to comment on.
Go ahead, Chase. Go ahead.
So I met a few people in the last month or so that introduced me to a group called Hope Impacts, and they work out of a church out on West Green. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have a program called Soups and Showers. And the homeless people from the area come there. They get to listen to music. They get food. Sometimes the haircutting people come and will cut their hair. They get to take a shower. They can, take, a certain amount of food, drinks, different stuff that they need, clothes, et cetera, et cetera. So I've actually been going to the soup and shower events and talking to the homeless people, because one of the things that I've recently become kind of interested in is the idea of, well, how do we get homeless people to vote? But that's something we can talk about later. But so I've been talking to a lot of them, and every single one of them will tell you that there are two main reasons why there's such a homeless problem. One is mental illness, which leads to drug addiction, stuff like that. And the second thing is, if you think about it, the cost of a 1-bedroom apartment is what, $1,200, and you have to make 3 times that a month in order to get approved for it. So how are these people supposed to get up off their feet, get themselves an apartment, and they can't get a job? Like, I mean, they actually use the church as their address. But it's not something that's easy to do. And one thing that they've done in the state of Utah, and I've talked to some of the people at this program, and asked what they thought about it, and they loved it. They loved the idea. In Utah, the amount of homeless people that they had, I forget which year, but it was a few years back. It cost the taxpayers almost $20,000 per homeless individual. What they did is they had the homeless people help build small homeless communities. Instead of putting up spikes and putting up fences where people couldn't sleep or anything, they built these residential areas. I mean, nothing fancy, but they have a clinic, they have a mess hall or a cafeteria, however you want to call it. And now the average homeless person costs a Utah citizen $7,800 per year. So we're saving $12,000 a year per homeless person if we just help them. Like, most of them are not asking for a handout. If we just do something to help in the problem, there's plenty of other issues, but just on the homeless thing, I mean, if you're saving $12,000 per homeless person, think of how many homeless people are just in Houston. Think about how much that could go to infrastructure, education, crime reduction. I mean, there's so many places.
Well, I'm going to chime in on that, Wes. With your Chase, on that deal is my wife and I. We make a decent income. You're right. How do they afford it? I don't know about Liz, and I kind of know a little background. I don't know of you guys' background, but for us, we were having a conversation in the living room earlier this evening about how she was supposed to go to the hospital. She carries insurance that is worthless. We all can say most insurance. Their love take that money. They produce nothing. What a great business to be in. Give us your money and we give you nothing. What a wonderful concept. But we were sitting there and she's got to figure out how she needs to go have stuff done. But we make too much, but we don't make too much, right? We got a household of 2 income. So if we're struggling, you're working hard. Liz, you're working. All you guys are working hard, and you're having a hard time. That person on the street, oh Lord, have mercy. That's an astronomical feat, but it can be done. But you're right, and there's ways you can give incentives. Okay, you have this building. Let's convert it into a way that these people have an address. We'll give you a tax right. We'll give you credit, something, so you're not totally losing. But you're right. If we're struggling here, there's going to be really bad on the street trying to get out. We just try to. I know for me, some weeks I just try to get to work without needing too much gas, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have kids. We have the wild kingdom in our house. I don't have. It is, anybody needs cats and dogs. We got plenty. We'll give you.
But Larry, I mean, that is exactly right. Like, and then we have to understand we have so many things. We had the pandemic, which made things, that made things worse. And now we have this inflation, which is making things. I mean, it is killing people. I mean, people are having a hard time getting gas, buying food. There are food shortages, and a lot of people. And this is the narrative that I have been seeing that's coming from the mainstream media that it is because of Biden and the things that he has done that is why we have this inflation issue, which is not even close to being true.
Nope.
A lot of people do not
It's
understand that this is a supply chain issue, that this issue has been coming for a long time because we outsourced all of our jobs to China, India, and all over the world because corporations want that, they're trying to save a buck, they're trying to cut costs, and so we've shipped everything, all our manufacturing all across the country, and it's not here. It's not here, and so now this problem has become more evident than ever, and the pandemic just made it come quicker. So you have all of those things going on, and then before the pandemic, there was a statistic out there that people couldn't even handle a $400 emergency expense.
Mm-mm.
So you tackle that with the pandemic, this inflation thing. Hardworking people who hardworking people are suffering, and people who got two incomes, people who got jobs, good paying jobs, are struggling. People went through their savings through the pandemic. There are just so many things that politicians, that these people in Washington, that the people in Austin, that the people all over politicians all over the country need to understand. But they're so out of touch. They're so so far removed. They can't even relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back like to the homelessness. Like, there's a lot more people becoming homeless right now because there was that moratorium was lifted, and it should not have been lifted. And there's a lot of people suffering right now, and the wage, the gap between the rich and the poor it's only going to get worse from here. And I don't really know if there's any pause button that we can push on that, other than letting everything collapse on its own and then rebuild from the beginning. But I just also wanted to go over Kyrsten Sinema. Like you do make a point, like a West Virginia, Chase, you made a point that they represent their constituents, but West Virginia is 93% white.
Mm-hmm.
So he represents, or he feels like he's representing his constituents. Kyrsten Sinema is a little different. I was actually very shocked to find out how progressive she used to be.
Yes, very progressive.
Yeah, I was reading that myself. I'm like, huh?
Yeah, she was like a champion of rights. She's held so many rallies before she even took the state house representative position. What happened?
That's what I would say money.
And I was like, I can only say that you're only as good as the company you keep. And she's keeping company with John Cornyn, Lindsey Graham, and Ted Cruz. If anybody, I don't know, someone who can stand Ted Cruz for 5 minutes, I don't know how. Something's wrong with them.
Oh no, there might not be enough room in that. There might not be a space around him for you to be near him. If his head gets any bigger, it's like the problem is with many of these people, they believe their own press releases. Yeah. They really start believing their own press releases, and that creates a problem. Well, I'm that good. No, you're not. Somebody just need to tell you, no, you're not.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, what happened? Why all of a sudden she decided to vote with Trump 50% of the time?
Yeah.
She's the third highest voting with Trump as far as Democrats and Republicans, apparently. Oh, yeah, Democrats. Joe Manchin, of course, being the first. But I just, to me, it just makes me feel like at some point she was disingenuous about her messaging, or it does come with a lot of notoriety, and she's become famous, very, very famous. And she's been given so much power right now, and maybe she doesn't know how to use it or what to do with it, or I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt there.
I wouldn't even give her that, Liz.
Liz, can I make a point of what you're saying? What you were talking about. I'm going to use an example of a lottery winner. You give them all that money up here, they ain't changed. Now you got somebody been elected to office, done all this. Now her head is huge. She doesn't know how to monitor and control. All of a sudden, like if we took you out tomorrow and the next month, Liz, you couldn't walk across anywhere in this country. They say, oh, that's Liz. All of a sudden, you've getting this fame and attention, and you've not dealt with how to handle basic life. And that's what happened with lottery. And they get all this money, right? They never learn how to handle money. That's why they won't have it in the end. So, and that's what happens to people. And you have to be cognizant, you have to be very aware of it. And that's why, I tell people, I says, if I'm given the honor to serve and I start sounding stupid, say, have your smoking, share it, or get off of it one another, because you are really not sounding the most sharpest guy here. But you got to stay in touch. You got to stay grounded. I think that's a good word.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I would say, and that's the same type of analogy as in, the music world. You look at like, 90s Seattle grunge scene, these people, were like dressed like street people, and they were making this music that was just loud noise. All of a sudden they got signed. And so now they're using heroin. Now they're, doing all this stuff. They got all this money. And look at, most of them are dead now. Like, they didn't know how to handle that type of I guess, power, because fame is power. Money is power. And there should always be a cap on power, which just goes back to the whole term limit thing. We have to have term limits on the state level and on the national level. I've already signed a pledge that if I'm elected, that I will co-sponsor a bill to do Article 5 so that we can ratify the Constitution to enact term limits for the U.S. Congress. And I think that's very important because, power corrupts.
What's interesting, I agree with you. We do need a cap on it, especially like in the case of Joe Manchin and a few other people in Washington that think things operate the same way it did 50 years ago. The world's changed. They haven't. But Kyrsten Sinema, she's not prone to that. This is like what, her first term, right?
Yeah.
So she's relatively young. She's 45. She's very, very young. So then you have just two opposites. You have Joe Manchin, who, he needs to be go. Yeah. Kyrsten Sinema, though, what do you do with her?
Her constituents need to vote her out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the only option. I think term limits are a good secondary to stop power from corrupting, absolutely. But it's really up to the people, to be the first line of defense, when their leaders are not representing them how they want to be, represented. So, I mean, that would be my answer to that.
Well, and also now, Chase, as well, it's the apathy of the voters. You're right. The way you get somebody in office, you vote them out. But if you go look at the stats, look at the people that continue to vote over and over, and you go out on the street and you say, what do you, I don't want nothing to do with politics. What they don't understand about that apathy and doing nothing, they're accepting whatever they're given. Hence Joe, as you're talking about, he's been there, he's going to stay there, because typically you're going to have mom and daddy, grandma, people who have voted for him for years, and they'll go, well, wait a minute, we don't get no change. What did you expect? You did the same thing, right? Come on, we all know that story. You keep doing it, what you gonna get? You're going to get the same thing.
And it's wild because I'm one of those weird people who has been a politics nerd since I was 6. Like, I remember the Berlin Wall coming down. I remember seeing Gorbachev while walking through Sears and people had cigarettes in the department store. I'm like, what? But like, I remember this, like, I was paying attention to all of this. And, once I turned 18, I turned 18 in 2000, so I could actually vote, as soon as I turned 18. And that's when I started realizing that my voice didn't count for anything. And it was for 2 reasons: the Electoral College and gerrymandering. And I voted in every election since I turned 18, and I've still believed that my voice did not count because I've always lived in Texas. and Texas has always gone Republican as far as, well, not always, but since I've been of voting age. So it's really just like that's what causes a lot of the apathy is because people don't feel like they have a voice. So they can't contact the representatives. They get gerrymandered to where they don't have a voice there. And then when they do vote, they've got this group of whoever it is, whoever the electors are, that says, oh well, 51% of the state voted this way, so screw the 49%. So there's so many reasons why people are apathetic.
Yeah. Well,
And
I think
I want to add.
Go ahead.
I want to add one thing to that. You also have these gatekeepers within the party that if you come in there and you're talking something different, they will shut you out. They will be like, no, we're going to go do the same thing that we've been doing for the past 20, 30 years. But I'm like, if it's not working, why are we continuing to do the same thing? That makes no sense. That's asinine. Why? And it's because you have these gatekeepers who just gatekeep and they don't want to let the new voices in. And so you meet that and that's demoralizing. You're like, well, damn, I'm trying to get involved. I'm trying to express my voice, and I'm getting told, you're not a true Democrat, or because I think differently, or because I want the party to do more, because I'm not satisfied with crumbs. We've gotten to this point where we are satisfied with crumbs, and I'm like, my generation is not satisfied with crumbs. Millennials, Gen Z, they don't want crumbs because they've seen where crumbs get you. Nowhere. It gets you 40 and 50th ranked in economy and healthcare and education. That's where crumbs get you. We don't want crumbs no more. We want the whole pie.
Yeah, it's like they're just trying to maintain the status quo just enough so they can stay comfortable and empower themselves, and they don't, you know what I mean? It puts them in a position.
And they're not affected.
Their big daddy and mommy telling us what's what,
This is just like people like myself and you and Chase. We're a different breed of Democrats. We won't march to the tune of status quo. We're the kind of people that I know Chase is. That you punch him in the face, you better kill him because he's gonna get back up after you. Someone just tell me that big man will hurt you. But the gist of it is, if they see the fear, say he get elected, he goes up there, they got to make sure he's in check. And he said, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not that guy. I'm not your boy. So you better go somewhere else with this. And they go, oh my God, we got a problem. Who the heck the West think he is? He better step in line. You know what? We don't need Democrats step in line. We need Democrats back to the middle, working for the people, period. And I think I definitely know Chase real good, that he's that kind of person. He's just a sharp guy. And the thing is we have to stop doing status quo. And you guys heard, if you watched or heard any of my stuff, I've said it several times. I ain't status quo, won't be, never have been. I'm the most uncooperative dude that you met. Even when I was young in the military, they told me, here's a quick story. I don't want to go too far. They said, Miss Stephen Baggett, you have to sign this paperwork. And I said, no, I don't. And they go, oh, yes, you do. I go, no, I don't. You tell me where I'm violating an order by not signing. You signed the paper. But that's that. You got to stay. I don't care what you do today, yesterday. Today we're here. And we're here today, and tomorrow's the future. Forget the past. If you want to live there, go home. Let the people that want to serve Texans stand up and do the job. At the end, if we are always thinking in the past, if you're always looking in the past, there's no future. The future is the past, and it is not the answer. The future is whatever we all make it, right?
Right. I mean, the party needs fresh blood, and I'm really hopeful about Harris County because we have a new head of the Harris County. He's a millennial, That's fantastic. It's somebody we can talk to, relate to. Is not going to talk down to you like you're a child. And it's refreshing.
Yeah,
real blood. Real nice guy. Him and they get together, Liz.
Yeah, because like that apathy transfers over to people not wanting to run for office. It goes into them not wanting to take up, like being the most minimal is like precinct chair. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody even knows what that is mostly. We need people that are like us to be taking these positions of power, no matter how small it is. I don't care. A dog catcher, president, I don't care. It has to be somebody who's willing to just come down to earth and see what's going on and come down to everyone's level instead of being up there in their ivory tower.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll just say this, at least as far as being a state representative. A state representative makes $7,200 a year. Now, why on earth would a person who's making a great living or whatever want to do that and want to do it for 20, 30 years unless they're getting something on the back end? Like, I know that come election day, if I'm lucky enough to get elected, I'm gonna take a pay cut and I'm gonna have to figure something out. I know that because there's no way that I can work a full-time job, and serve the people. The studio will stay running. I'll have my employees who are already here running it, and hopefully that just will help take care of it. But I mean, you can't tell me that these multimillionaires just really, I love this $7,200 a year job. Like, no.
They're talking about they need some pocket change.
I mean, serious. So yeah, I mean, just I a lot of it is power, and we need to elect people who don't want power. They just want the power to fix things, to change things, to make things better, and then get out, and then let the next generation come in and make whatever adjustments are needed, because this world changes day to day. 3 years ago, we didn't know about COVID. The last plague we'd heard of was a bubonic plague, or, well, I mean, the Spanish flu, I guess, but most people didn't even know about that. So, I mean, your life can change every single day. So you cannot expect someone to be in office for 20, 30 years and, really know how the world has changed when they're just kind of sitting there, counting their dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, or waiting for the next donation to come in. You can't relate. You're out of touch. And one thing I like is when I see candidates or politicians have a strong hand in the community, that they don't just come around during election time. Like, be there 365. Let the people know who you are. And then what's another thing that candidates have to do when you do something good, you have to brag. Because the media is not going to brag on you. You're going to already get pushback from the Republicans on how you did this. Or we need to be boastful about when we do something right. We need to throw our own. We need to, pat yourself on the back. That's just things that you have to do. And you have to explain what you did, why it's good, what the changes is going to make. Because the mainstream media, the news, they're not going to do that. They like divisiveness. They like to pit the two sides against each other, because I don't know if anybody knows, but a lot of the mainstream news companies like CNN and Fox, and people don't understand that those are run by the same billionaires. Those are the same billionaires pitching people against each other, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna watch these fools fight, and then we're gonna get all this money on the back end. And so we really got to change that. And so I want to ask everybody, we're going to move on to our next question. And we kind of, went off on some different tangents, but that's okay. How do we feel about the direction the Biden administration has gone? What do y'all feel as though, how do y'all feel he's doing so far, basically?
If you want an honest answer, I'm going to say average.
Okay. We got an average.
I mean, yeah.
Go ahead, Chase. Go ahead. Explain it.
I mean, I really don't have any other words for it except for average. Like, I mean, I don't think that he's destroying the country. But I mean, I don't see any huge, like, just major things that he's doing that are going to help us for years to come. So I'm gonna say average.
And that's very honest. I mean, I agree. I mean, he hasn't destroyed the country, but what major change has he brought to people? What can you say? And honest, and yes, they just passed the infrastructure bill, and that is great. I think, but like I said before, the infrastructure bill doesn't go far enough. And this is the infrastructure bill that's going to be basically a corporate giveaway to companies and the infrastructure. So, this is the whole thing that just pisses me off with this whole entire infrastructure thing. They were supposed to pass them at the same time. They were supposed to pass the infrastructure bill and the human infrastructure bill, and they just kind of reneged on the human infrastructure bill, and they was just like, well, we're just gonna pass this infrastructure bill, give this money to these corporations, and y'all are just gonna have to suck it up. And then another thing they did, they kept on taking all the great provisions out, all of the great provisions. I mean, just things that would help the American people, things that we were asking for, things that Biden ran on. And you took them out.
And then they added to the cost of Medicare B.
That makes no sense.
So the gist is, Biden is. I don't care if it's a Republican or Democrat. He played to the big corporation. He took a crap on the people. All of us. At the end of the day, you're being nice. Now I just realized that Biden is sitting there. This has been coming a long time. It's like the roaring 20, the big boom that was coming, the crash of the stock market. You can't keep going. You're going to blow up eventually. And that Biden's just sitting there, all these years of stuff coming at him, and he's doing his own thing and just tap dancing along with the big corporations like we all thought he opposed. But of course, he's been, how many years he's been a politician?
40.
Yeah. So he long and quit thinking he need to do something for the people. At the end of the day, hey man, I'm going home. And that's the honest truth about it. But he's sitting there when all this stuff is going to go south. Guess what? You get the credit whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
Whether you had any direct impact on it, you're still getting the credit. It's unfortunate, but I definitely would even say I wouldn't even give him an average, Chase. I just don't. I think he's a career politician. He proves our point about term limits. Mm-hmm. And they say what they need to say to get in office, and they will forget it and then they will justify later on why. Well, do we really need the human part of it? Well, all the people that voted for you, maybe that might be a hint here. I'm just guessing, right? But the gist is that's the problem with having no term limits on politicians. You get these cases of they've been there too long, like Senator Manchin, Liz talked about, and these other folks have been there way too long. It's time to go home. It's like being a quarterback at the height of your career, and you keep trying to throw, and you end up at the bottom of your career. There's a time to go home.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, go ahead, Liz.
I'm sorry, Liz.
I have to say it's not that great. It could have been a lot better if he just kept the promises that he had made. He made some promises for Texas. He has not kept those. Has he really taken a closer eye and seen what's going on over here? He's pretending it's not happening. He's just really good at maintaining the status quo. And the whole world can be on fire around him, but he doesn't care. It has to be the way it's always been. And that's very frustrating because he's stuck in his ways. Yeah. Stuck in his ways, and we cannot negotiate with somebody who's stuck in their ways, especially if they feel like they're the most senior person in the room, and therefore, you know what I mean? So
I know all, and I know best.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how we could even, but I'm hoping that he does come through. But the infrastructure bill, I think, is just a bunch of fluff. I think it's just for them to pat themselves on the back, to make it look like they actually did something, and that's why they're selling it to us so hard. Granted, yeah, I do think we need roads. We do need we need rails. We need things like that taken care of. We need all of that done. But what's the point of it if people are too sick to even get to work? They can't get childcare.
Yep.
How are they going to go work and create all this stuff and take these jobs if there's no human infrastructure in place to take care of those basic human needs.
It's like putting up sheetrock without putting up studs.
Yeah, they're just telling us, well, tough shit. Keep pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. You're just not pulling hard enough. And then when I hear the Democratic Party saying the same crap, it angers me so much.
It does.
Because it's not about that. People are working 2, 3 jobs. They still can't make rent. They're still being thrown on the street. They're still living in their cars. They're still starving. They still cannot get SNAP benefits to feed their children because they made too much money the last year. They might have lost their job this year, but they go by the income you've earned the last year. So you have to wait a year of unemployment while your children starve and you starve before you can even get help. And that's by design.
Yes.
And then you've got Republicans calling you lazy because you're getting unemployment and you're not working. And
it's like you earned it. I'm sorry. We pay out to Medicare. We pay out to Medicare. Every single person who has had a paycheck, who has paid into Medicare, deserves Medicare and Medicaid, because the whole agreement was it was supposed to be there in times of need, in times of emergencies. We can't get it in those times of needs. They are the ones who broke the contract here, as far as I'm concerned. So if I wish we could stop paying our taxes. Screw them. Let's cut them off. Cut off these billionaires. Stop paying your taxes. Just stop.
How about start defunding them? Let's go ahead and start defunding taxes.
Exactly. Let's defund billionaires.
Yeah, defund the billionaires. That's what I'm all about. Yeah.
Well, the problem is the billionaires are the ones the politicians are pandering to. And if you ain't got, then the politician go, well, I ain't gonna go to Chase here. He ain't got nothing. I won't. He ain't got no, The thing is, it's like taxes. Somebody asked me about taxes one time, man. And I said, you know what a tax increase is? It says we mishandled your money. We're irresponsible. We want more. And how dare you question our greatness to mishandle your money? That's what a tax increase is. If you have a budget of $50,000, and you're trying to get $300,000, well, why do I need to be accountable? And I agree with you, Liz. It's just like you want to wring somebody's neck if they want to wake up,
Yeah, because they're acting like this is the greatest thing he's done. I guess it is, but is it the best thing he should have done? No. And I just fear that maybe by him being president, we've only prolonged the inevitable takeover of the control of the Republican Party entirely. I just feel like maybe we just kind of put a pause button for a little bit and gave ourselves some time, but he's not cooperating enough to be able to help us.
I want to ask. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead. Continue.
No, I'm done.
I want to ask y'all a question. How do we get like the bulk of Democrats? Because from what I've seen, this is how a lot of the younger generations view politics. But a lot of the older generation, they are, unless you, they don't. A lot of older people. What I'm trying to say, a lot of older people in the Democratic Party, they can't see the issues. They have these blinders on. They just have these blinders on, and they can't see any of the problems. But younger millennials, and even some people in the older generations, they see the issue. So how do we get the older generation to kind of like get on board? Like how do we get them to call a spade a spade?
Basically, appeal to their needs. That's my only guess. Appeal to their needs. Like, I mean, for one thing, wasn't there a contingency in the bill that was supposed to give seniors dental care? And that was taken out. And the Democrats had promised that. They promised that. They got the votes of boomers because they promised that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now they just completely went back on their word. And all this bending over backwards in weird contorted shapes just to appease the Republican Party, it makes the Democrats look like they're not going to do anything for anybody.
It makes them look weak. And then people want to know, well, why don't you want to vote for me? Republican bad, we're better than them. But it's like you're weak and you're not going to do nothing for me.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest problems is we have not shown a backbone.
Yes.
In at least 30 years. And I mean, kind of going on what Liz was talking about as far as like, how do we appeal to the older people or whatnot? Like, as far as to get them to vote for a new person or a younger person or whatever, I don't know if we're going to. And Larry, forgive me, don't hate me, but if you and I
Okay, I
were,
will.
if you and I were running in the same district, had the same exact platform and everything, I guarantee you would win over the 40 to 80-year-old population. I mean, just because you're older than me. I'm not saying you're ancient or anything, but I mean, that's just how people think. People vote for people who look like them or who they think
Yeah.
represent them. So I mean, I don't know that there's, people are set in their ways.
Well, the thing is, I've made a comment before to people that chase. I made a comment. I said sometimes I wish we were blind because we have all these prejudices, phobias, these judgments. Oh, you're not. And a lot of this comes from back the Roman and Greek mythology time, how they determine what a leader looks like, square jaw, and all that. And that's where Hitler come about because he thought it was his responsibility to reestablish the Roman Empire. And this goes back to Aristotle's stock. This goes back years and years. So we're still living, and we got these mindsets about, oh, well, that guy's tall. He'll make a good leader. No, he's an idiot. He's just a tall idiot. That's all.
Tall idiot.
And I'm telling you right now, Liz, as kudos to women in the military. I'll tell you right now, I found it was easier to work for a woman in the military than it was a man. Because I'm telling you, typically, if I say, all right, Miss Townsend, you're now in charge, you go, okay, we'll get it done. You go over here and tell Joe over here, Mr. Jones, you're in charge. He can't get a hat on his head no more. It just swells up. And the thing is, I really love seeing more women around me because I think it's great. Because, I've always supported women in combat. My theory was, I think I told you, Chase, one time, they're a lot easier to carry dead bodies than heavy men, right? Some people say that's a little sick, but it's true. But the gist of it is, I have served with many women who I respected way more because they were down to earth. They got the job done in a professional manner and not an arrogant manner. You can get the job done without being a jerk in the world, But there again, let's get back to what we were discussing. These mindsets people have, right? The mindsets, and like you just said, Chase, they would look at me that way. They wouldn't realize that you're a heck of a lot smarter than I am, way smarter than I am on certain things, So it's a mindset. It's hard to get over, and I think a younger person, if you want to show that to an older person, be willing to stand your ground. Don't move, don't budge, don't flinch. When you flinch, you lose.
Yeah.
They're waiting to see if you can handle that. I've had one guy when I was campaigning. Oh, here's an awful big dude. I'm glad we were in a public place because I thought they wanted to kill me personally. I'm a happy-go-lucky Mr. Guy. This guy told him I was running on the Democratic ticket. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Woo! He was preset in his mind that all Democrats were anti-flag, anti-American, anti-this, anti-that, and he, as a Republican, had the book of knowledge, the book of life, and it was right what he was shoveling. But I understand, too, when you don't agree with me, I don't have to get mad at you, Liz. It just means you've been conditioned certain things. There's certain experiences you have that I do not have. Therefore, you are opted to give it definition. Nothing is right or wrong. It's only what you decided to be. That's the philosophy lesson of this one.
I mean, also, not a lot of younger people are voting. That's the demographic that votes the most in every single election. So there's a lot of apathy towards just everybody voting, especially here in Texas. Because what are we, 50th now in voting?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I think it's 50th. What? That's not great. I mean, it's not good at all. And I'm hoping that with, like you said, we need fresh blood. As long as we have younger candidates and it's starting to look like us, the ones who are going to be inheriting this shit show, then maybe, we can get millennials and Gen Z, everybody out into the polls and to give a damn. because it's showing that, hey, there is some change happening here. We are changing things, and it's going to happen, and you can be on board with it. But I don't know how to get that there.
Well, I mean, and one thing that I've made a very distinct point to do in my campaign so far is to not mention my party very often at all. Not that I'm ashamed to be a Democrat, because that's not the case, but we get caught up on these labels. Democrat is this, Republican is this.
Yep.
And because I haven't just been going, oh, Democrat, I'm a Democrat running for this, I'm Democrat, I'm not shoving this down people's throats. People aren't necessarily associating me with the Democratic Party. I'm rather liberal. I'm probably quite a bit more liberal than Larry, but
I don't know. You don't know my background, so I wouldn't just leave it right there. We'd be
but
you really don't know my background.
A lot of my friends are very hardcore Republicans, and like on my Facebook or what, and I'll talk to them in person, and I'll be like, listen, what do you think about this? Talking about policies and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I like that. And I've been very surprised, just even over the last 2 weeks, I've been out to a lot more events, and I've been talking to some of my very hardcore Republican friends. And I'm like, listen, hey, I'm running for Texas State Representative. This is my platform, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you're Republican or Democrat? I'm like, Democrat. Well, they're like, I don't support your party, but I'll support you. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I think a lot of times it's about the person. It's about the person and what they stand for, and what they've proven themselves to be to the people of their community. You can't just be someone who just moves into a community and says, okay, well, I'm going to run, and I've done this and I've done that wherever I was. You have to be a participant in your community, and I think that will get attention of younger and older people, as well.
Yeah, we need something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Politicians and candidates running have to go where people are. They have to especially go where young people are. You have to meet, especially young people. You have to meet them where they are at, because they're not going to come to you. So you have to go to them. You have to find them, and you have to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm running on. This is what, this is my vision. This is what I've done. That has to be the way we get to young people, because, young people don't care about politics. Me as being someone who's 29, who have a lot of young friends, whenever I do talk politics with them, they're like, yeah, bro, that's you, G. I don't, they're like, I don't care. And it's like, because they've seen the same thing over and over again. And here I'm saying, hey, well, look, get involved now, and it may change. Like, if and a lot of young people are like, well, that's too much, They're like, they don't want to fall for that. They don't want to, they don't want to do all that fighting. And it's like, it's paramount. But, another thing that I always say is, candidates have to run on things that's going to make people want to be interested in you and want to go vote for you. Just common sense things. Like I always say on the show, legalizing marijuana, student loans, getting rid of student loans. I mean, people can't even start families because they have huge amounts of student debt. That you want to get a young person, tell them that you're going to help them get rid of some of them student loans. Do that. Tell them that you're going to legalize marijuana and that you're going to have better jobs.
And I think too, what you're saying too, Gion, is the fact on the student loans. Instead of, some people get demoralized. I don't need you to give me charity. Okay, well, let's extend it out. Let's make it so if it's $50 a month, 100 is something that you don't demoralize that person. Think, well, I can get it paid. No, you can't. You can't even live right now. But there's a way to gratify them too. And I agree with you, man. It's like hospital bills, right? They need to be writing off hospital. That's why we really too need more socialized medicine in this country. Good God, I don't think no one can argue that point. But the gist of it is just getting people to not demoralize them, but empower them. You want to empower people, because see what happens, I think, in people's mindset is, well, I don't have much. I guess I'll never be nobody. You got to empower with it. The biggest enemy they got is inside them. That's it. Don't forget what Larry, Chase, Liz, Gion, any of us says, because until you can look in the mirror and realize you're the power that exists in your universe, and I would like to see a way to stretch out them college loans. Don't be no student. I couldn't pay $500 a month on a college loan. I'll be broke. I won't have gas to go to work and get the money to do it, right? But you got, I guess in essence, you got to help them out without hurting them.
Well, and the issue with the student loans, though, is not necessarily the actual amount of the student loans. It's the compounding interest.
Yes.
Like, you're sitting here, you're paying the $500 a month for your student loans, and 20 of it's going to the principal. That's where the problem is. I mean, I'm all for having possibly free community college, something like that. I think a university or something like that. I don't have a problem with people having to pay for it. I don't really. I'm not for or against on that, but I mean the problem is the corporate, the corporations giving out these loans, charging this crazy interest to where people are paying on their student loans until they die.
Instead of setting a max amount where they cannot exceed, but that'd be like trying to tell the government, this is your max amount. You can't go past that tax that they'll go, well, we'll raise the ceiling. No. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Go ahead, Liz.
Oh, sorry. I was saying people went nuts with student loans in the 2000s, just as they went crazy with home ownership, but bad mortgages.
Yep.
And how did we deal with the mortgage issue? Maybe we can look at that as a way of dealing with student loans. But how much of the money? This is a genuine question. I wonder how much of the money ends up in the government's pocket. How much of it goes to the government's pocket, and how much of it are they able to allocate to different certain pet projects? Because I don't see it ever being forgiven if it's a piggy bank of some sort. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I'm sure it is benefiting some people in ways that they don't want us to know.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. How much money would be injected immediately within 1 month into the economy if all student loans just ended, if everybody just didn't pay their student loans?
Yes.
And we decided to go get our new tires instead. We decided to fill up our gas tank all the way this time, get supersized. It's what if we could do that? That would give us, our generation, so much power. Yeah. It would give us a lot of power. It would give us the economic advantage. And it just feels like a thumb just pushing down on us constantly. Since 2000, it's just been just pressure and pressure and pressure, and just not being able to get further ahead ever. I mean, my generation's had 9/11, opioid issues,
Katrina.
The economy crash, housing market crash, student loans have piled up unbelievably. Now we have COVID. We survived Trump somehow, and we got a government teetering on the edge of incivility. So, what do we do? It would just be so great if we could just put that there. Hey, we got extra $500. Like that $500 a month. What would you do with an extra $500? You can do a lot.
You can do a lot.
Yeah. And I just don't like the way things are going. And it's like we have our mommies and our daddies having to tell us what we have to do and what we can't do. That thumb just pushing us down even further. Sorry, I'm tangent, but it just
we listening.
You are right on point. You are exactly on point.
it just feels, it's too much pressure. It's a lot of pressure. Our generation has gone through way too much pressure to deal with any more bullshit. And I think that's why they're afraid of us taking over. Because we're tired of it. We would actually enact change and we would destroy the status quo. We would reshape it into something, an actual
We
more
would shake it up.
union. There we go. We'll shape it into a more perfect union. We want that shining city on a hill. We were promised when we were in school. We didn't get that. But you know what? We can make it. We can make that happen.
No.
If we just got together and we're stronger together in numbers.
Yeah. Which is why I really am a strong advocate for the candidates getting out there and just talking to people one-on-one, going to different events, talking to people there. We cannot rely on the party system, to, get our names out there. Yeah, they may help us a little bit. But, the people who are really going to be change makers, if we're going to get elected, we have to get out there and do the work, ourselves. Because trust me, the establishment does not want us.
No.
They don't. But the people, if they know we exist, they will.
Yeah.
So, really, we just got to do the work. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. We have to understand that when the establishment sees people like us, they see people with hammers coming to tear it all down, because I can't imagine having Chase in office, Larry in office, or you Liz in office, and y'all letting corruption go rampant, y'all letting the status quo. There we go. That's what I like to see. Bring out them hammers, man. It's so cool.
Maybe that's what if we're too socialist. We're too socialist.
Or we're too, all those damn dumb labels. I get called a socialist, a communist, and I'm like, you can't even tell me what those definitions mean. I'm like, okay, you don't want poor people to get money, but you're fine with billionaires and corporations getting money. And I'm like, so you don't want the little guy to get money, but you want the guy who already got money to get money? I'm like, so you're for socialism for the rich. Like, you can flip it right back on them. Like, at the end of the day, you're just saying words, and people just say words and they don't even know what they mean. They just read from their talking points from Fox News and One American News Network, and they feel so empowered. And it's a little sad, because they are lost, and a lot of those people are the ones who are also suffering.
But Democrats do that too with MSNBC and CNN. We all have our echo chambers that most people are caught in, and we don't hear anything else except this. And until we get out there and really talk to people, about specific issues without saying, oh, I voted for Trump or I voted for Biden, or until we get out there and just talk, forget parties. I have no problem working with a Republican who is working to better the state, to better the lives of the people of the state. I have no problem with that. I don't think that Republicans are inherently evil, which, a lot of the left-wing, news would want to, have me, believe, and I don't believe that all Democrats are, communist, socialists, people who, just want to overthrow everything and live in this, tree hugging utopia. I really think that if you really just talk to people, you'll realize that we all just want a place where we can be happy, we can be safe, we can have food, we can have a roof over our head, we can send our kids to college, we can make sure that our kids aren't getting shot on the streets every night. I think we all want that. We just sometimes have a different idea of how to get there. And that's why we've got to talk. And that's why we got to stop latching on to parties and latching on to, oh, well, we got to stop. We got to stop.
Well, yeah, that's why that's why candidates like Trump worked really well, because he was an outsider. You have to be from the outside at this point because there's been so many promises and so many disappointments over the years, so much corruption for both sides. And it's just, how do you, that also contributes to the apathy and indifference towards voting.
Yeah.
And I think that's also part of the problem.
And I mean, I really think the only way we can solve it is to get elected and prove it. I mean, really,
more young people need to run. Yeah, like school boards. I mean, there's so many openings on school boards, and it's like, oh, you might think, oh, I'm not a parent, or I'm not, I haven't been a parent long enough, or I don't have the time. Make the time, because this is why books are getting burnt. They're going to get burned, basically. And it's because we have allowed these people to take all of these local seats. How many local seats from the very bottom to the very top are all filled with Republicans? And it could have easily been filled with Democrats or an independent. But they never came up. No one stepped forward. No one just stepped up, because we only care about the big elections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another problem within the party. We only show up every 4 years, not even in the midterm elections. And that's something that we have to, as a party or just as people who want a better system, we have got to fill, like Liz is saying, fill up these positions. I mean, because even the dog catcher, your state board, those people make important decisions. And a lot of times we have people who are making decisions who don't look like us, who don't represent us, who don't even have the same backgrounds as us. So we have to run. And I always try and tell young people, as mad as you are with the system, get out there and fight the system. Fight to make it better. We are literally in the fight of our lives. I really feel like politically, this is a time where we are really in the fight of our lives, and we have to make some things change. Or you know what? We gonna be like France. I always say we will be like France. We already kind of got the let them eat cake mentality, and so we need to stop that. Or ultimately, people are going to start revolting in the streets, and with this inflation happening, all of these things are just getting us closer and closer to that horrible reality. And we're gonna look back in history and we're gonna be like, well, damn, what the hell happened? And it was, we let this money in politics, we let the wrong people, we got apathetic, and we did not care. And we came more consumed with what's going on with the Kardashians and who's kissing who, and we've totally lost track, and we've let these people run out the back with the money. You see every billionaire going to goddamn space. I mean, I don't want to, I don't know, but hell, shit, when things hit the fan, I can see every, you go just see spaceships flying off. You're like, damn, they left us.
That's if we don't eat them first.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing that really shows, kind of with this group of people, but this panel here, that you don't see with the career politicians. Every single one of us has gotten to a point in this whole conversation where we're almost yelling because we are so passionate about what we're trying to fight for. You don't see that on Capitol Hill. You see, little theatrics and, oh, okay, we're going to kneel in solidarity for, whatever. Yeah. But in this panel, you've seen every single one of us get worked up because we're passionate about, our communities, our state. And you will not see that from a career politician.
Or very, 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 very rarely. And it's always somebody from the outside. They're always from the outside. There's always somebody from the outside. And I think that's one of your advantages, is that you're in the community, but you're outside of that culture of what is ruling 132, that political culture. You're coming from the outside and you're relatable and you actually live in the community. That's a good thing. We have so much representation that people are not from, their communities. Where I think you mentioned earlier, they moved to the districts on purpose. Just to run for that office, and they've never been there. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on down the street. They don't know where the best coffee in town is. They don't know how to talk to the locals or their local culture. There's so much of that going on, and I think you're right. That's why we would never hear it from a regular politician, because they're so detached from society.
I think the biggest gist of what we're talking about, trying to get those voters out there, they got to wake up. They have to wake up, and if you don't sound the alarm, they will sleep because they've become comfortable. Most people, I call them walking deads. They don't think. But I love what one guy said. If everyone actually talked about what they were thinking about, there'd be little conversation in this world. Because most people don't think. And the thing is, and my goal personally is always just get people to think about what you're doing. Just hell, give it a few minutes. You might find you can. It's like, Liz, can I ask you them books in your bookshelf? What kind of books you have back there?
Oh, I've got a couple of school books over here.
Just pick one. Give me a name.
No,
The Art of the Deal.
Yeah, there we go.
The Art of the Deal. Okay. Great.
The Art of the Deal. Gulag. There we go. Gulag.
Okay. All right. We'll go with the Art of the Deal. Gulag. Art of the Deal is, people say power is knowledge. No, it is not. Knowledge is power. It's putting all those books back to you. You can read all the best books in the world, but if you don't put anything with it, I've said it before, constipation of information. You're wandering around with all this stuff, and it's time to wake the people up. Say, you need to wake up. Understand, you don't want to be involved when you wake up and you don't have these civil liberties, your rights. You go, what the hell happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened, my friend. You were asleep when we were trying to wake you up. And the key thing is, like you said, I think it's great you stay away from the party. You got to get them like Chase West. You got to get them like Liz. You got to, all the people out here, you want them to know you. You don't want them to go, oh, well, you're a Democrat. No, I'm not. I'm a human being like you. I have passions. I have beliefs. And when you get the party politics out, you actually find there's a lot of folks with more in common than they want to admit to. Especially politicians, they don't want to admit the fact that they really do believe in essence some of the same things. They just won't say it out loud.
You made me kind of realize something, that the left is being dehumanized.
Yeah.
That you're telling, like, I'm a human being. It's like, wow, we have to get to that point now where we have to literally tell a person, I'm another human being.
Yeah.
Not a caricature meme that is on your Facebook page.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way.
It's just like looking at, they say, well, them Democrats are anti-guns and this and that. I think I've said something before. I tell you what, you come to Texas, take guns away from anybody, and you're gonna have a fight. They don't care what party you're part. They're gonna shoot you. It's really simple, guys. And I even told Mr. You know who I'm talking about, Chase, Mr. Beto. I said, I don't have an assault rifle. I'm gonna have to buy one and get you to come try to take it, because I got a feeling you better bring some help. I don't like people that assume they call the party. We running on the Democratic platform, yes, but we're individuals with true passion and the belief that we can make a difference. We're not looking at skin color, sex, what you do in your private life. Don't really care who you sleep with personally. But it's about waking people up. No, you got some folks ready to serve you. Now, do you want somebody to serve you, or you want to go to sleep and you want to stay in that state of sleep, and you wake up, you've been enslaved, but you've allowed it to happen because you would not wake up and take action. Well, in this group, there's action takers. Period. I don't see no sheep, as far as I can tell by my hearing telling me there's sheep here. I think we got lions in this room.
Oh yeah.
On this panel. I don't know about you, but I sometimes you got to take a bite out of somebody's a lion to remind them you're there. All
right, Tyson.
That kind of makes me think too, like, why are the Dems have been bent over backwards so much to where all the good provisions that they had promised the people have been taken out of even just the infrastructure bill. Why are we doing that? Why? Because what we could do is just deny the Republicans what they want. The bill fails, and then the economy collapses, and guess who's at fault for it? They are. So they would end up having to be accountable. But
honestly, though, like this Trumpian Republican style that has evolved. I mean, it's for Democrats that are, in office really anywhere. It's scary because these are master manipulators.
Yes.
Like they can make, like they will never take any accountability, and to their base who are not awake, and I'm not gonna start calling them sheep or anything like that, but to their base who are so loyal to them, you know, they have this way to turn things around and make it the other people's fault. And I'm not that type of person, so I really don't understand how to do that. I really don't want to learn how to do that because that can be dangerous. But like they, this new age of Trumpian, politician is the reason why we can't get anything done in Washington D.C. because we've got the majority, but we're afraid. Well, if we piss off too many of them, we're going to lose the majority. Well, if we don't piss off enough of them, we're going to lose the majority also. So you got to pick one.
Yeah.
And I mean that's why we look weak.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're
So-
both right. We need to take a bite out of someone's ass and make some change because, like, you're right. I mean, we're going to lose power no matter what, whichever way we go about it. Might as well try to do something at least instead of just sitting down and laying down and just taking it. It won't, because it's never going to stop with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, and what we're doing, what we think makes us look tough or whatever is, we go on Twitter and we say, Marjorie Taylor Greene looks like a caveman or something. That doesn't solve anything.
Or we wear a dress that says "tax the rich," and then we're like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing something."
Yeah, I mean, we got to stop with theatrics, and we have to actually, do something. Like stop making fun of people. Stop, I mean, now Ted Cruz is fun to make fun of. Don't get me wrong.
He's immune. He doesn't.
Ted Cruz is totally immune to this.
He
But I
doesn't.
mean, when you get hashtags like Cancun Cruz, circulating for months at a time, people lose sight of what the hell he's actually doing. The bad policies that he's trying to push. We lose sight of that because we've just got hashtags and we've got memes and we've got caricatures, and we got to realize there's actually stuff going on behind the scenes, and we're missing it because we're laughing and sharing memes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Chase. We have become characters of ourselves, and it's so easy for Republicans to attach that rhetoric to us, because, like you said, we keep it going. Like, I mean, I still see Cancun Ted Cruz, which is funny, yes, but that was months ago. That's old. I mean, and even the Big Bird thing, I see people, who cares? Like, leave it alone. Like, we have to fight in different ways, and memes and little slings like that. That's fine for a week and a half, but that cannot be our whole entire message.
That's not a tough platform.
Exactly. So before we end the show,
slightly, I have to counter that slightly because when you have memes and all that, and it gets so popular, it's about who's controlling the narrative in a way. Mm-hmm. It's like controlling a narrative, and if you're very careful about what you put out and what memes you do, you can actually craft a very good internet campaign with that and control the narrative of it instead of letting it get out of control. If Ted was smart, he would have people doing that, controlling him, his image online and how he's viewed. But he doesn't because he's Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz just sucks. But I think that's very important because there is a place for it. I just think we just harp on it too much. Like, that'll become somebody's whole entire campaign, sending out memes and if you're sending out memes and you're also out there and you're also, I guess it just has to have some kind of substance to it. I think, and there are some, memes with substance.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I even make some up. I mean, I'm not. I'm not saying that like we can't have fun online too. But it's when we make that our identity and that's all we're doing, and that's all that we're talking about with our friends. Oh, did you see Big Bird? Did you see? That's the problem. And today's society is just so obsessed with okay, well, what's the next hot thing? On Twitter, like, I mean, there could be something that's going, and then 30 minutes later, once you finally see it, like, it's done. You post about it, no one cares anymore. It's like, okay, so I mean, we gotta be in person. I understand COVID. Wear a mask. Do all this stuff, whatever. But we gotta be out. We gotta be out talking to people in public. I mean, stuff like this is great also, because a lot of people get to kind of hear a different viewpoint, and I guarantee you, a lot of your normal listeners are thinking, "Is this the Michael Berry show?" Because a lot of the stuff that we've been saying does not sound like typical Democratic talk.
No,
But I think we're all speaking truth, and whether hardcore Democrats like it or not, I mean, this is our truth. You don't have to vote for me. You got one other choice. That's Schofield. So I mean, which one you want?
Exactly.
that's right. You're right. Don't give them the choice.
Yeah.
Give them the choice.
But it's horrible. But around the country, I've seen candidates who stand up and fight for the right things, and I've seen the Democratic Party endorse the Republican. I mean, it's just I mean, just some
Yeah, I've
wild
seen
things.
that too.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like,
It's wild because you didn't fall in line. You were not. It's just disgusting. But
Yeah.
before we end our show, I want to ask y'all one thing. What do y'all think will happen in the midterm elections? And y'all can just we can just go one by one, and everybody can say their piece, and then we can head on out. But so Chase, you can go first. What is your predictions for the midterm elections?
I think it's gonna be mixed results. If we're talking about U.S., I think Republicans will gain control of at least one house. If we're talking Texas, I think the Democrats may fare better than people are expecting.
Okay.
The other states, I don't have any research on, but that's what I think. Barring some kind of major, meltdown in the White House or DC or some other major catastrophe, that's what I would predict right now if I were putting money on it.
Okay. Larry?
I concur with Chase on that. The Washington, they're going to take control of one of the houses. What happened this November is a prelude what's coming midterm. And if the Democratic Party don't get off this status quo crap, and people like you and I and Liz, and we don't, people like us, we have to run for office. We have to make a change and impact in the Democratic Party to reestablish that there is a party that represents the people, not self-interest and all that. So here in Texas, I'm with you, Chase, on that. I think we won't gain control, but I think you will see some Republicans leave office because they've done some stuff up there that they can't get away from. And especially if we harp on that term, we harp on that career politician, like here in District 3, he's on his fourth term. He's 4-year generation. What's bad about him, whether you support Texas or not, he stood as a Republican. He outright told people they didn't have a right to vote on the future of Texas. And so in the district, he's kind of shaky because even the Republicans remember this guy that said, I don't support Texas. I won't endorse it in no way, shape, or form. It's like, dude, you better look at your constituents here. They just want the right to vote. But the gist is, I think we'll see a change on some Republican seats. We won't gain control by numbers, but with the attitudes, if we maintain the attitudes all three of us talked about, we can get control of the situation with other people across the state. Instead of being divisive, attack, just ugliness. Go in there, and we can make things happen without being hate happening, right? I'm probably missing my word there, but you get the point. Instead of running in the house and you're gonna take them all down, walk in the house, and take their house down because they just invited you in the house.
Yeah, but still bring that hammer with you.
Bring the hammer with you. You can bring the hammer. You got to have something to tear the wall down, right? But you can walk in there. You don't have to have the number. You have to have the ability to communicate and connect with everybody. And I know some of them, they hate you just because you got a D in front of your name. Oh, well, I've been hated for worse things. So, all right.
So, Liz, what are your predictions on the midterms?
Nationally, it's going to be a slaughter. Honest, that's what I think. It's going to be a slaughter for the Dems nationally, because unless we stop compromising and lying and looking like liars to everybody, because people are pissed off about that. I mean, we're talking about truths that we can relate to people on the right side who just might not necessarily have the advantage of good information. And so if we do that, maybe we have like a chance. But I think that the biggest race, of course, is going to be Texas. That is going to be the most contentious gubernatorial, I think, in national history, is what's going to happen. Because this is truly a fight for the heart of this nation. Because if we lose Texas, we lose the heart of this nation. Because what trends in Texas trends nationally. So our education system starts going in the toilet. Somehow the rest of the countries also start slipping. You know, it just, because we're that big, we're that powerful. And we just got to reach out. But I don't see that happening too much because of the way I've seen Washington reacting. Maybe we have a chance in Texas to flip it blue. I think we have a chance to flip the House blue. Even if, for God's sakes, like we end up with Abbott again, I think we're going to be able to have a majority of the legislature. Which I don't think we will. But
I mean, I think we'll at least have negotiation room.
Yeah, I mean, like let's make them compromise for once.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no deal, and all accountability is on them. And they don't want that. They just want to say, "Oh, look, the Dems lied to you. They said they were going to do this one thing, but they did this other thing because we told them to." So, you're going to keep voting for them? No, they're going to vote for the Republican from now on, because a Republican is speaking truth. So
it may be their truth, but it's a truth nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? I get exactly what you're saying, Liz.
Yeah, it's like we got to get to them first. We got to get to them and relate to them first. Chase is so right about that. We have to talk in person. We got to relate to each other once again. Because otherwise, I don't see any way of really getting the vote out, of getting people to be excited about it or energized and enthusiastic about voting. Because unless you go out in their faces and you remind them that this is their fundamental right as an American citizen, you remind them they have power. And they have a voice. And that voice counts. No matter how small they might think it is, it's still there. Pebble in the river. How many pebbles have collected in the river? You know what I mean? Your vote is kind of like that. I don't mean, I'm trying to come up with a way of describing it, but your vote it might just be one vote, but it's going to end up 2 votes eventually. It's going to be 3, 4, 5. It's going to cause, if you keep it at work, it's hard work, but you keep working at it, we can reclaim that power. Because it looks like up until about 70 years ago, we had that. The people had the power in their hands. We had unions, we had good pay. People were able to get a house in their 20s. They were able to get good jobs that last their whole life, that collected pensions. That is unbelievable these days. I cannot imagine myself ever getting that kind of opportunity. My parents had it. I don't see myself ever happening. So why is that? Because we don't have the power to speak up for ourselves. So you're absolutely right. We lose our power by letting them control us and tell us what to think and how to relate to each other. And Fox News is so good at that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
good at selling the fear. And it's like they're able to craft it in a way to where they can relate to people, but then they add their BS on top of it.
Yeah.
And that's how they get them. And that's how they kind of, I don't know, it's like they're pushing all these people into some sort of machine where they're just shooting them out constantly. There's like these alt-right weirdos. They're just
Reminds me of the Pink Floyd video. But I mean, you got to understand, for most of recorded history, even before media and stuff like that, fear equals consumption. Fear equals control. If you can, scare enough people into consuming what you want them to consume, you have the control over them, and that's all it is. Except the last 4 years, we've just had like a fear tsunami, coming at us. And then we had COVID, which was scary enough on its own. And then we had, so yeah.
We almost lost DC in January.
Yeah. Like that. That's why people rush to buy toilet paper when they hear that, it's going to rain tomorrow. Like it's just, fear equals consumption, and that gives people power. And we got to stop being afraid. If you're not afraid of anything, then nothing can hurt you.
Exactly. And we got to stop letting Republicans control the messaging and letting their main thing of messaging be fear, like Chase is saying. Because if I can make every Democrat or anybody with a D in front of their name to be the boogeyman, then, and that's all they've done. We are now the boogeyman. Like Larry was saying, they don't even know what you're representing. As soon as you say you're a Democrat, oh, you the boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we definitely have to get control of messaging.
Yeah, like fear, you lose power when you're scared.
Mm-hmm.
You're willing to give up your power to someone else or something else to take care of you, who's going to solve the situation and keep you safe. It's going to build a wall because you're scared and you need that to feel secure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, that fear you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just to make people do that. It just
fall in line.
Yeah,
I mean, and Democrats are using it too. We're saying, okay, well, if we don't get out, if everyone doesn't get out and vote, the Republicans are going to take control, and you're going to lose everything. Like, I mean, everyone uses fear as a tactic,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes the fear is true, but if you can get to a place within yourself to where the only thing you fear is fear itself, as was famously quoted, then you're going to be a lot happier in life, and you can do a lot more for yourself, for your family, and for your community.
Definitely. So, guys, I want to thank my panelists. This has been an awesome experience, an awesome talk. We really got to get down to the nitty-gritty of things and really, just say what was really on our minds, what we feel as though should be the future of the Democratic Party. So this was a great conversation. I want to thank my guests, Chase West, Larry Baggett, and Liz Townsend, for coming on and giving their perspective. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any uploads. You can also find us anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. Y'all have a good day. Peace.